believe most of the rituals have been observed. The sacrifices have been made. We have stolen power from where we need to. We have attuned to this moment, this place, this hour with all of these lovely characters. And so, before getting down to full brass tacks, how is everyone? Are we better than we were a few moments before? And are there any questions, suggestions, hypotheses, or corners we'd like to round off before getting down to the brassiest of tacks with this particular coder? Nope, I'm good.
I'm tired, but I'm fine.
Nope, no question.
So independent mic is definitely a thing. So independent mute, that is, not just the independent mic. The mics, as most of we all know, are completely independent. They have a mind of their own, especially if they're corded. But all the same, welcome. With there being no questions, everyone well aware of where we are beginning. 2 nights from the happenstance of Volume 1, 2 nights further into the life of these characters and the happenings of this city. 2 nights with the characters having the opportunity to think over, to mull over, to fixate on, and deal with or come to grips with or concoct a plan and theory or an illusion for themselves as to what the fallout of such things might be. So really quickly, while we're just a few seconds outside of the hard start, I'd like to offer my thanks. We together, separately, and overall with the core players across several chronicles, with our characters in this chronicle and the coterie that is formed and forming from the actions of Volume 1, we have managed to cover a wide variety of themes. We have managed to deal with, address, underscore, and paint, using negative space, a lot of heady, often difficult things. We're able to put on the suit of cloth that are these characters and others and forward into the dark in the name of play. We're able to remain a little younger mentally and hang on to a little bit of that shine from our long forgotten past. And it's all because of you. It's all because of your skills, your efforts, and your energies. And I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you all. It is a pleasure to have this opportunity with you here and in other places across this shared world that we have, these characters inhabit. So, without continued doing until we don't, without continued forwarding further and further away from the essential matter at hand, I'd like to say that this is, in fact, without a shadow of a doubt, City of Forgotten Care, Volume 2, Episode 1. A rider, sans order, and Bonnet. 3 nights ago, the lamplighter ceased to be. A tradition, a landmark, a foundational aspect of the quarter itself. The repercussions of that stretch far and wide, because right underneath all of the tourists' nose, the lamplighter was a place where newly arrived, just breezing through, and kindred that have chosen to make New Orleans their home might stop off for a little bit of the grand hostess's hospitality, a little sip in a very cold world. That is no more. The Grand Hostess was acting in the stead of Prince Calabalarshi, the Prince of the Quarter, the bright, brash, firebrand of a Tremere who managed to find all but a peaceful coup, taking the territory and domain right from beneath Prince Guibault. Prince Marcel, Prince of New Orleans, which is not an easy thing to do. And it's not an easy thing at all to even dream of, yet he not only dreamed of it, he did the damn thing. He managed to make it matter of cause that, unlike the vast majority of tower cities around the world, New Orleans had two princes, the Prince of the Quarter and the Prince of the City, working in concord to make New Orleans as hospitable as they possibly can, while maintaining each and every tradition of the masquerade. All of those things, all the things are no longer. All of those pax considerations and peace has gone by the wayside. But that was 2 nights ago. 2 nights with the coterie holding up, being in isolation away from all of the investigations and actions of those of the court who are seeking the best way to find out what happened and maintain what level of peace they have fought so hard and long for. Now, in those 2 nights, the question arises, what has this coterie, what have these characters been up to? Starting in alphabetical order, 2 nights away from one's haven, 2 nights in the care and hospitality of Salem and Bo. What has Reverend Abe been up to?
Abe has been largely towing the line, following any orders Salem has given. Although any chance he has gotten to get out and about a little bit has been to see if he can reach out to any of his contacts in the any of the local gangs in this immediate area to see if get any more information in relation to dear. Let me check her name because it's not her name on here. I apologize. In relation to Mao's, what she enlightened us to, any new, big criminals coming into town.
Attacking it from that angle, several things would easily make themselves known, but how many of them would immediately strike his attention is another question entirely. Would you be so kind as to roll either your charisma or manipulation and contacts?
Alright. So it's going to be 3 plus... do you want us to go ahead and rouse or for this?
Normally we would, but we're going to be moving at a fairly decent clip if we are lucky, and so we're going to assume that you all are beginning with a hunger of 1.
Okay. I'm just making sure. Bot doesn't seem to be working.
Go ahead and try Incanu or either Realm.
Okay, how do I use that bot?
Slash, and it should come up in the small tab next to your slash, your /, and then you should have Incanu or Realm pop up on the side.
I don't see either of those. It's just the regular Discord commands.
Okay, so type / dice roll. See what we come up with here. No, that didn't work. Okay, try / and roll. Not sure exactly what's going on with our tech today, but
dice rolls not one word.
I rolling the right channel?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even look like the bots are in that channel anymore.
Interesting. If you'd like, you can use that role, or if you like, I know that we have access to other servers. You can test to see if the bot will respawn on one of the other visible servers to us.
Sure. I will roll in the thing I always roll in on the regular one.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
One success.
Alright, sounds like a plan. It is a nebulous world of interconnectivity. The width and breadth of New Orleans isn't as large as one would suspect, especially being as in multiple places it is bisected or quartered or cut into thirds by the river and several smaller tributaries. So while it does take up a significant amount of space, a lot of that space is in fact water. A lot of that space is barely above ground muck and mess. So everyone knows someone who knows someone else who will in turn know or have heard of you and someone else. So word spreads fairly quickly over the next few nights that Reverend Abe is asking about what happened down in the court. While several thoughts and strategies would have occurred to other individuals because of that, for Reverend Abe, it is all about his pursuit of knowledge. It is all about finding out what happened and who might be on their way to wrap things up or to make things worse, whatever that may be. It is without a shadow of a doubt that Abe is annoyed with what he has heard. Because what he has heard is that the Morgan City madman, Travers, Guibault's all but actual scourge, may be on his way into New Orleans. Now, Guibault has a little plantation out near Laplace where it's literally a kindred's paradise. There are enough humans and mortals throughout the bayou, out through Mont and Kelowna, that as long as you cover up your mess, clean up your mess, nearly everything goes. It's not as wild as a place as some say Paradises or Raceland, but it is definitely under his purview. Out there near Laplace is heaven on earth when it comes to letting blood and having blood in as many ways as possible. And that's only partially due to the quarter being in balance, the quarter and the city of its at large being at peace. Travers is a gangrel from way back who has every intentions of ruining everything. He's the sort of this person, if he had to clean the house, would start by lighting everything on fire. For Prince Guibault willing to dip into that particular inkwell, there's no way to believe that anything that has happened or is happening in the quarter will not toss muck, mire, and so much mess over you all. It would probably be safer to walk into the sun. And speaking of being sunny, Mal, 2 nights away from your shop, 2 nights away from the quarter and the lovely public transportation and the MTA drivers and the rail car drivers and the horse and buggy liverymen and women from the ebb and flow of the center of the city. Because while the quarter is not exactly the central business district, it is in fact the central business district. Every tourist from everywhere else outside of New Orleans wants to come to New Orleans to experience what the quarter is all about. Every person, when they think of New Orleans as a whole, thinks of the quarter. They don't think about Storyville. They don't think about Faubourg Lafayette. They don't think about Central City. And they most assuredly do not think about the 7th Ward. They think about the quarter. They think about all the history. They think about all the magic. They think about emptying their pockets, even though they try not to. They think about all the jazz. And here you are in the 7th Ward.
There would definitely be a trail worn in the floor in the specific corner that she has claimed of Beau's house from her pacing back and forth frenetically. And she would still remember to try to make her offerings to the other side best she can with what they got, because she can't allow them to be angered at her. That's just first and foremost. And then she's going to try to use, I guess, some of those connections, or the best she can, to keep track of the situation that she saw in her vision. Use that as a way to get news, seeing as how she can't go out in person and ask nobody.
That being the case, would you be so kind, just go ahead and roll your... Here's the question. When being presented with potentially bad news, is it important to keep your calm through it all, or is it important to hang on and rodeo your way through? Which facet, keeping that calm, placid, stiff upper lip and presenting a cool image to the rest of the world, or simply gritting through it, screaming bloody murder and getting to the other side?
Mel's always more of the quick and dirty sort.
All right, that being the case, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your resolve plus auspice for me? And then reaching out to the other side and sussing through all of the myriad potential possibilities and where they lay in the shifting kaleidoscope of could be, would be, should be, might be. Is it something that she's doing just the one night, or is she attempting to do it every night?
I think she would stick to one night because then she's going to need that second night to suss out what best to do about it and run it past everybody and see what they want to do.
Okay. So the sunrise of the night following the firebombing of the lamplight, as everyone was resurrecting for the evening, and the oblations to the spirit world and those voices that are out there in the dark, Mal reaches into that shadow. She attempts to move the ever-shifting smoke of what could be from her view, opening her eyes, her mental third eye, her spiritual third eye, so she can peer into the myriad of what could be and what should be and what is and what isn't and what is true and what does true mean. She sees the river filled with blood flowing in reverse back north all the way until its fountainhead there near to Lake Michigan. She sees that on that river flowing in reverse, but yet still crawling forward closer to the city, is a shadow of a crowned thing. It's on all fours, its arms bending at odd angles as it eats up the space on both sides of the Big Muddy as it makes its way towards the city. While in the city, while here, specifically in and around the quarter, those fallen do battle, do disease, do crime, and do the fangs of kindred rise from their slumbers. The crypts spew them out as if it is the day after Mardi Gras, the day after Fat Tuesday, where those who have over-imbibed now lay their prayers at the altar of the porcelain god. And as those souls empty out into the streets, the wolves crawl amongst the dead, snapping and biting and otherwise destroying these remnants of the past, and the wars rage and grow, and the fire. Why the fire? Why must it always be fire? And then you're back. You're once more in the present, knowing that things have changed. They're still the same. They are still here and now, but there are other factors adding to the torment and torture of the denizens of the city well on its way here. And as she peered into potential, possible, eventual, it would be impossible for anyone else to not realize that something is horribly, gruesomely wrong with Mal. As her eyes disappear, becoming endless pits of darkness. Her veins crawl up her arm as if they are something living and breathing and seeking to swallow her heart as if it is food and they are predators a hunt. Standing stock still instead of the pacing which you've already become inured to. She stares at the small crack on the wall over the lime green chair that she's claimed for her own there beneath that floor lamp. Salem. 2 nights. 2 nights. have passed. In the care and hospitality of your charge, Bo, his abode, his haven, safe here in the 7th Ward, as close to the quarter as you can be and be nowhere near it all at once. That first night, Mal disappearing into the forever, going into the back of beyond, looking into places that, well, look back through her. Where does that leave Salem? What has Salem managed and done from that first night to the second to now?
I'd imagine her attempt to contain the rolling disaster has been mostly consuming, but she will use the time to catch up on some reading, make some notes, do brainy things while keeping one eye on a book and one eye on the group to make sure that nothing explodes.
So aside from Mal's first catatonic event, it's been, for the most part, thus far, mostly peaceful. It very much reminds you of the old adage of the calm before the chaos, or something similar to that. And speaking of the calm and nerdy stuff and being quiet unto oneself, Reverend Noel and all of this with Mal's first catatonic night, with Abraham beating the streets in and around the area, where does that leave Reverend Noel?
Oh, I would say probably much the same as Sam, just rolled up reading. She's probably used to lulls and hustle and bustle, given her line of work. So yeah, just another day.
Speaking of just another day, another in the very long line of things that keeping on. 2 nights with the full width and breadth of so many kindred in your hospitality, so many kindred in your haven of havens, in your safety and sanctuary. Where does that leave Bo?
Well, Bo is going to follow orders with Salem, but on the back end, the lady he clotheslined, the guy who started the fire, he's gonna try to see if he can get any information, any backdoor communication on how did they get here and how they move those weapons into the lamplighter.
That's a great plan, but unfortunately, without speaking with Reverend Abe, no one knows what they look like. The woman.
You mean the lady that he clotheslined?
Mm-hmm. He only fought the lady that was fighting Abe. He didn't know that she started the fire without discussing it with Abe.
That's true. Maybe I'll start a conversation with Abe to find out that information.
Fire away. There's been 2 nights. Abe has been beating the street and making it back in time to beat the sun and doing something that very much seems like an investigation.
Okay. So Abe, back at the lamplighter, are you gonna tell us what happened there with the with that lady?
I'm surprised
The
y'all
lady-
just don't ask.
Yeah.
So, best way to describe the situation as I understand it, there was a couple, her and a man, that managed to get inside. And I'm pretty damn sure they're the ones that started the fire, using it as a distraction to break into the VIP section, using these things as he holds up the police lockpick thingamajig. Killed the man. The lady was more skilled.
True. She definitely could take a punch. And I'm gonna see if we can find out how she got that into the lamplighter and how did she get in New Orleans.
Well, based on God, I have a question for you. It don't take a genius to put two and two together and say that those people are probably police, right?
No, it doesn't. No, it's very. They either have or are connected with law enforcement of some stripe.
Getting it into New Orleans wouldn't be the hard part. I reckon they're probably all with the po-po, so to speak.
While we're playing question and answer, she says, looking up from her book, what specifically, exactly, happened with Jessica? Jessica was her name, right?
Yes, the Major Domo second kick, the right hand to the Grand Hostess Morgang.
Oh no, I wouldn't be the one to ask. I wasn't the one that handled her. That'd be Miss Noel. You'd probably want to ask.
Harper.
Or will look up from her book. I really didn't do much. I just helped her walk after she left the room. Neither of us were in that great of condition to walk on our own.
She didn't say anything or...
Just that the other people in the room were massacred and we needed to get the fuck out.
Where did the steak come from?
Hard to say.
But she had it the whole time.
Presumably.
At least until she was able to pass it off to a scapegoat.
It's hard resisting the urge to look towards Evergreen, as that's stated clearly and directly out loud. But those of you with a resolve and a composure of 4 or higher are able to only look in his general direction instead of looking directly at him. Beneath 4 or higher, and you look dead at him in the offing.
That's Mal. She's got 3 total, so she'd be definitely staring at him.
I just look in his general direction, give like a light smirk.
Bo gives a gentle cough without looking in his direction. Just in the general direction.
Do we have any idea what happened down there, save for the account given by Jessica, which I don't think I've actually heard?
You have not. But you're sure, those of you with a politics of 2 or an etiquette of equal level, know that in these 2 days, in these 2 nights, there's no way that the scene, the rumors, the gossip, and her statement has been spread as far and wide as necessary to get the prince's attention to wrap things up.
All I can really offer is a guess. Clearly it was an assassination of some kind. Get rid of some of the power players. Beyond that, it's all just suspicion and, just suspicion.
While we're having this here conversation, I just thought I'd share what I saw.
Oh yeah, you're doing all right. You were kind of staring at the wall for a couple hours there.
The river of blood flowing backwards all the way up north, but coming against the tide and large and shadowy, wearing its own crown. Some sort of beast is coming.
I'm not having a conviction on that.
The wolves are eating the dead, keeping them in check, the ones that wander the streets. And there are so many dead. But the thing is, I think, as bad as it could get, if we can get ahead of this somehow, or at least clean up what we can, we might not be on the chopping block, but otherwise, we are pretty much fucked. Whatever's heading this way has been called here to clean up the last of whatever messes there might be, and I think we are considered a mess.
Funny you should say that. My friends have made me aware that Gibby's little scourge is coming to the quarter.
Is he considered a beast of some sort?
Morgan City Madman. That tells you anything.
Just to be clear, because I don't want to assume too much, everyone understands that we were set up, right?
Oh yeah. Thrown under the bus. 10 times over.
I kind of wanted you guys to leave that chick downstairs, but y'all wanted to walk out and play hero. So I can't really ride with that, but I thought for sure that she was going to throw us under the bus the first chance she got.
How did she not?
And she did. Didn't you remember she walked out of there without giving them Tremere people not much of a fight? She was willing and ready to go so that she could tell them exactly what happened on her side of it, at least.
She played a favor, whether she gave one or was owed one. She's gonna walk, and I think she's behind it all.
I did too. I kind of thought she was behind it. That's why I didn't want to go with her. But that's
all
a fight
fine.
for another day.
Exactly. That's all fine and well talking about what we should have did, but it's done now. We need to figure out what to do next.
Exactly. Considering the setup and the aftermath, and everything that occurred, the chaos and the indiscretions, how do we see tomorrow?
Well, option number one, and I don't think it's anyone any of us want to do, is get the hell out of Dodge.
It's not an option for me.
Same.
Not
here.
an option for me. So, round two. How do we clean this mess up? Or at least get our hands off of it?
The mess is being cleaned up, or has been cleaned up as best it could. As for the rest of it, it's politics. If anybody has any favors that they can call in, now would probably be the time.
Well, how about this, Salem? That steak, besides obviously it having, did you get a chance to test it and tell us what's on it, or what's in it, or if it's magical, or...
I didn't have enough blood to do anything mystical with it, but what I tasted was that there was ash in it.
Okay. Because she pretty much killed two really old licks with that steak, and I don't think she had quite enough gunpowder to pull that off. So something happened in that room, and we kind of need to figure out how to get into it, or figure out if we can piece together what happened. That may go a long way in saving our bacon.
That we get in easily. Police have probably got that place locked down.
My hypothesis is that they sat down for their meeting. Jessica brought them refreshments that were laced. The people who were supposed to go apeshit went apeshit when the ash hit their system. She used the chaos to stake Morgaine, leaving her vulnerable. The frenzied kindred took her out, and Jessica ran off with the evidence. And then gave it to us. But just a working theory.
And one would hope that your, higher-ups would remember that they saw her hand that off.
Did they? Or did they arrive to the door with the steak sitting in the chair, easily accessible by everyone in the room?
Yeah, they were not there when that happened. They came after.
Oh, wonderful.
Mr. Green with the conservatory and the knife.
Well, as we all know, the real first tradition is don't get caught.
True. So we need to figure out how to get either her off our back, or us getting leverage over her so that she can get them off our back, because the dogs are coming.
I think she's probably way out of Dodge by now. Yeah, but she's getting off scot-free.
Well, the easiest way is to make ourselves worth more alive than dead to someone with enough clout to prove that.
And
if it
who would
comes,
that be?
I don't know who's still alive. On top of that, we're going to have war in the quarter. Unless Regent Kalabalarshi comes back to resume his throne. That's probably why your madman is coming. It's probably going to be open season on anybody acting up in the quarter.
Mm-hmm.
No questions asked.
Cleaning up the streets and tying up loose ends.
As I live in the quarter, that's a big problem for me.
Well, I imagine fighting him in on your priority list. So, what's the plan? Do you want to do investigating or do you want to do politicking?
Yes.
What about that person you called in the first place? The ones that came to get the girl? You can't talk to them? Put in a good word and see if we can be helpful to them enough for them to not take her word at face value?
Here's the thing. We kind of got to take it on faith that they're not just going to come and assassinate us without a word. Trying to head it off ahead of time makes us look guilty. So it's probably best to just formulate a plan and improvise as needed to make it fit the situation. But I don't want to yell out to the world, hey, we're guilty.
All right. So that brings us back to square one. What's the plan? Do we go about our nightly routines and keep our head down and hope that maybe they won't kill us in our sleep?
More evidence couldn't hurt. At the same time,
Which means we gotta get back in that room.
At the same time, I don't know if you guys showing your face in that block is a good idea, but it may be unavoidable.
There's a question. Do we think it is worthwhile to try and get in that room? We all know that the fires would have likely destroyed anything tangible and useful, and if it didn't, the police certainly ransacked it these last 2 nights.
As they mentioned, police, Mal, can I get the head to... I got a friend that's a detective. She owes me a little bit of a favor. I can contact her, maybe.
That might be a good idea. See what they know, what they found.
I do got the beginnings of an idea.
Well, shoot, little man.
Well, considering that the only people who are really stick out on that block are me, you, and Evergreen, we shouldn't be on that block, but the rest of us can, because no one really paid much attention to anybody else. Everybody else kind of flew under the radar.
If I'm not mistaken, well, at least one of us is able to move around without anybody paying much, if any at all, attention to them.
Mal pointedly looks behind her like, who you talking about?
Might be prudent to scout ahead, and then maybe we could go. More eyes on scene, as long as they're eyes and not hands. We'll find more evidence.
And Harper can actually tell us the type of shoes that everyone was wearing.
No, those were mostly on the back of my head.
Back, front.
That's funny. I don't know if you'd have any access to coroner's reports or medical examiners. So to be fair,
what I can do.
It's probably all been scrubbed to protect the masquerade, but it's worth a try.
Well, if any of them come through my service.
Here's the funny thing. As you all are discussing and formulating the foundations of a plan that has the largest modicum of potential success available to you all, New Orleans is always believed to be the murder capital of the U.S. More things go wrong in New Orleans than go wrong anywhere else in the U.S. At least that's the purported rumors. And it's a rumor partially blown out of proportion by the kindred of New Orleans. It's easy enough to get people to believe that and turn a blind eye. But on average, not counting tourists who are shipped back to where they came from and on those occasions where it happens, 3 people die in New Orleans on a daily, nightly basis. Or more to be exact, 2.89 people die per full 24-hour period in New Orleans. That's not counting the 9 people that are violently assaulted on average in New Orleans. That's not counting the 26 robbery or violent thefts, nor the 35 criminally sexual contact that happens in New Orleans on the 24-hour period. Most of those murders are, in fact, kindred covering their actions. Most of those violent robberies are kindred covering their actions. Those numbers would be grossly inflated if not for the lamplighter offering its hospitality. So literally, in 2 nights, in 2 full day cycles, those numbers have gone through the roof. In 2 nights, those numbers have tripled. The police dealing with the crime scene and all of the other fingers in their pie are literally run ragged. And always in situations where the cat is too busy, too sleepy, too tired, or just away, the mice will play. And so while you all have been safely ensconced in your abode, in your home away from home, in the hospitality of Bo under the care and overwatch of Salem, the city has started to burn. Not in a physical way, though there have been far more arson attempts, but emotionally. The kindred who visit for the free eats and eventually become part of the ecosystem. Those who are simply swinging through on their way to points east and west and north. And those who, the mortals who make their money, their livelihood, who get by getting by in any and every way they can, well, you gotta make hay while the sun shines, and you gotta do crime while the dark pervades. When the police are distracted, when they're not there to order and keep things maintained, when that thin blue line is far too thin to do more than stretch and accommodate. With the promise of immortality, it's easy to think of things in the long view. However, time, being the thief of all ways and everything, doesn't have that compunction. Things are happening now, and now, and now. What is it that we might do is what lays before the coterie.
Would I know if there's a regular salon or an upcoming Elysium or something? Perhaps we could go out and mingle among the other kindreds and get word on the street.
Yes, but we still can go ahead and roll your intelligence plus status plus politics.
That's interesting. I'll take it.
The funny thing about the city as a whole, even with it literally burning down around itself, with it giving into its vices that it peddles, with it violating the number one crack commandment, don't get high on your own supply, there's always a happening. Mardi Gras is more than just a time of year. It is a feeling. It is a mindset. Even amongst the kindred. Fat Tuesday and giving in to the vices that elicits. Drinking all of the liquor before it goes bad, eating all the grains, eating the finest of things, and baking so many pies and cakes, and just fattening oneself up for the season of Lent is more than a mindset. It is sin and repent, sin and repent, sin and repent, sin and repent. Tonight is no different. There is a gathering weekly at Christians. Well, it was formerly called Christians. Christians was the leading competitor to the Grand Hostess for decades. It was a place where, while everything was nice and friendly, served up on silver platters at Morgane's, and you felt as if you belonged at Morgane's, you had to fight for that feeling at Christians. But once it hit, it was, as the kids say, on and popping. Christians, for many a spell, was the place where those not accepted in polite society, those not able to quite ground themselves enough to not be wild, rambunctious monsters of the night, would congregate. But because of their inherent lawlessness, the kindred who ran Christians on several instances were punished. And finally, they were offered the opportunity to run. Being rebellious, they chose otherwise. They chose to stay and fight. Here's the reason why the place isn't called Christians anymore. You can't fight City Hall. At least that's the way the saying goes. And up until recently, the idea of standing up to or standing against the Grand Hostess was laughable, to say the least. Now there is no Grand Hostess. All of those quiet whispers and subtle, sly remarks about Christians will rise again. Well, the weekly meeting would be a place to see if that is in fact the case. The weekly get-together where kindred of various stripes would get together and test their mettle in the unknown but public secret of the Kindred Fight Club beneath, with those of better social standing making bets and trading boons and living the high-owed off the reservation life. No one ever admits to actually frequenting Christians, but it is a place where everyone goes once or twice to let off steam, to watch steam being let off, to get caught up in the gladiatorial arts of watching kindred do what kindred are never supposed to do with witnesses. And as long as they were quiet about it, they were tolerated. Now they don't have to be tolerated anymore.
She will lean up and close her book, clap her hands, and say, "Here's a thought. Maybe we'll do this. We can go where it will be safest for us, except in any way that truly matters. Mingle among our kind and see what the whispers are. Read the looks you're given. See exactly where we're at. Maybe there's nothing to actually worry about.
I'm good with that. Where we heading?
It used to be called Christians.
Oh, that place. Salem, you, Harper, and Mal might want to watch a 6 going in that place.
I think I can swim.
All right, kind of dark, down and gritty, but I'm good with it.
It's an easy thing to end one with fisticuffs. It's a completely another thing to make their entirety of their unlife uncomfortable other ways.
The fisticuffs are kind of fun, though. That's kind of my favorite. That's my thing. Don't take my thing away.
That's how we got in this mess in the first place.
Don't worry, it'll grow back.
When you end a thing, it's gone. It's of no use to anyone, least of all you.
All right. Well, don't come crying at me when everyone's throwing fists and you say, "Hey, Bo, can you stop them from throwing fists?" I'm gonna say, "Nope, things ended."
I don't think this is really the kind of place where I need to worry about fists.
Oh, I'm ready to go. We need to get out of the apartment anyway. This place is starting to smell. Smells like Kendrick.
I mean, we have a couple options on the table.
Not sure how you smell anything over all this gunpowder.
Hey, leave my guns alone, okay?
All I'm saying is you light a single match in here and the whole place is going up.
Yeah, but if someone comes through that door, you grab a rifle.
As long as they don't have a match.
That's fair.
So do we want to make phone calls? Do we want to investigate? Do we want to go to Christians? Or some combination of all three?
Well, the phone's over there. I'm going to get my bike, and I'm heading to Christians.
Christian sounds good. I just need to make that one phone call to the detective quick first, just so I at least know if there's any major police things to watch out for.
A change of clothes might be in order.
Brought that garment bag, so she's all set for that.
This is why Mal layers, so she can switch things up with the same pieces.
And that's why Bo has a closet.
So, once more with a feeling. We have plans afoot. So we'll begin back at the top of the heap, back at the start of the alphabet. Reverend Abe, and all of this planning and choice of destination, what is it that while Mal heads to the garment bag, Salem heads to the garment bag, Mal begins switching things up to head towards the phone to make their phone call. What is it that Abe is doing?
Well, I don't think any of that garment bag's gonna fit me, so, and I assume that we're all gonna be making our way to Christians eventually. Would I have time to do one last little, put out a feeler to my friends to see if they, again, any, like, not power player, just more of what I was trying to do earlier, more specific of, because there's the worry of, I believe, Evergreen brought up Chicago, if I remember correctly.
He did. He mentioned that, it reminded him of those movies and stories and tales of Chicago gangsters.
Yeah. And all this talk of stuff going north. I'm somewhat curious, again, if any big organizations muscling in on anyone's territory.
Well, that's the funny thing. Most people fail to realize that the American Mafia, as it is perceived through all of those many movies of old, Miller's Crossing, The Godfather, Goodfellas, Casino, all of those movies are the product of mafiosos who migrated here and entered, oftentimes illegally, via New Orleans. Everyone forgets that New Orleans was, in fact, for a very long time, an international port. It still is. It's smaller and does less business than places like Dallas, which has the busiest airport. It's not, as well known and doesn't have a landmark like New York. It's not bright and sun shining with no rain ever like most of the ports along the western coast, but it is an international port. The mafiosos that have been popularized by movies like Guys and Gals and Guys and Dolls and all of those began its trek north and into the wilds of the U.S. via New Orleans. New Orleans has always had a presence of the mafia. They, of course, have a bit of a different accent and oftentimes are nowhere near as stereotypical in their dress as you've seen on certain movies, but knowing someone who knows someone who knows someone is one of those fellas it's not all that difficult to come into contact with. The docks, the ports, the small slips in the middle of nowhere, the boat tours are often held by various criminal families, criminal organizations from across the sea, and foundational aspects for the 5 families that purportedly rule all of the U.S. So yes, there's always those coming from the north. There are always the influx of new blood to various families. And there's always the just out of sight, backhanded, back alley deals being done. Most people consider that just a little bit of a lagniappe, but they get a little extra, a little bit on top, a little bit of juice, a little bit of vig. No one pays it much attention in all this. It's so part of the culture, a little extra, that someone new moving in with the right resources would never be realized until they already started building whatever it is that they were hoping to build. And that's the sad part that Abe comes to grip with. If they were moving in, it's far too easy getting lost in a mass of tourists. It's far too easy to simply know someone who knows someone and begin partying with someone. One thing leading to the next, and then there's another block gone, or another business. It's the effect of trying to fill a bowl of water, and you realize that the bowl, in fact, is the colander. And while that's happening, and while that's scouring and beating the bushes and reaching out to friends and associates of friends, Mal, would you be so kind as to roll either your charisma or manipulation, and your contact. And of course, you have them down as an ally.
No, I have two different ones. I have one that's listed as an ally and two that are listed as contacts, but the detective is listed as a contact.
All right, fire away. There's a way that things are done. There's a way that things are understood to be done. Slow and easy and only lightly pushing against the edges. Moving circumspectly. Never really quite addressing anything directly. But slow and steady doesn't happen in this moment. Slow and steady doesn't get you anything but dead. So as you call, and have to call again, and have to call again, and have to call again, and for them to answer, a bit of a slur in their voice. You know they're on duty. You know that this is a night where they're supposed to be dialed in and at that position on their patrol. Hey, I do, child, I do.
I thought you quit that stuff.
What stuff? No, everybody likes a little bit of beignet and cafe au lait, especially on a night like tonight. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Can we pause for just 1 minute? I need to catch up with you.
Well, yeah, come on down. I can get you a round two. They're doing these little rainbow things. Oh my god, these are so. Oh, these are so good. Go perfect with the donut. That is what we're good for, ain't it? Donuts.
Okay, out of character, I don't know what I know you gave me direction, but I don't know how to pull that one off. So
quite easy. You know they're supposed to be at work. You know that they're not supposed to be drinking. You know that right now they're standing somewhere at one of the mobile liquor carts, something rainbow or neon in their hand. You also know that they carry not one, but two backups. Often those backups, not in their hand, but in other officers' hands, ends up as throwaway pieces to justify shootings or worse. You know that right now there's a member of the police department imbibing to the point where you can hear it over the phone. You know that there are lives counting on their quick, just reactions. And you know the demons that are released when imbibing. Yet wherever they are, instead of being one of the sheepdog protecting the kind and keeping things moving as they should, wherever they are the largest threat to the stability of the world around them. seem to care. Your time, your effort, your energies in getting to know them, to helping them get clean, to helping them maintain their job, dangling by the thinnest of threads. And they're happily, inebriatedly going about their life as if none of that effort, energy, or time matters.
I'm gonna be real with you right now. You standing there making a spectacle of yourself and making it so that somebody else can pin some shit on you once they get your piece out your hand.
Everybody having a good time. It ain't like that. Come on down. Hey, get out from
me. And back away.
Back away from what? I'm just having a bagnette.
Are you drinking? No. You can't lie to me. I know you. I've known you for too damn long. Put it down and back the fuck away. I don't want to find out you dead somewhere. Or gator bait. You're ruining your life and other people's.
Damn, you ain't gotta take nobody to church or nothing like that. Come on down. I ain't got shit to do right now. My time it don't matter for not one bit of shit. They got some trumped up FBI down here running things now. Chief of D's is sitting here right next to me right now. Why you getting on my case? Most of us who are part of your upstanding NOPD have been relegated to traffic control.
Who protecting ours? These out-of-towners. Who protecting our people?
These out-of-towners.
Fuck them out-of-towners. They ain't protecting nobody.
I wouldn't. You might catch something that you can't put down. Gonna yell at me. I ain't the one that just trumped up the reason to come down here and damn near take over everything and put us on. Do you know I was standing outside the damn hospital today all fucking day long? My feet are tired. I'm a patrolman. I don't stand and conduct traffic.
Oh. I don't ask you for much. I don't call very often, but I need you to be about it and be aware of your situation. I know it sucks what they're doing to you, but at the same time, you are a protector. What about the girls?
Well, you ain't heard?
No.
There's been a bird flu breakout. Most of the comfort ladies is banned from working, and it wasn't near the quota.
Bird flu?
Bird flu. Avian flu. I thought that died back there in the 90s, but somehow there's been a resurgence, and the CDC has their local offices down there working with these feds.
That sounds like a cover if I ever heard one.
Well, they say they're looking for patient 0. Some huge black fella, bald head, came down on the bike, they say. One of them motorcycle types from out there on the west side of town.
Just be safe, okay?
I am. I'd already even locked up my piece. You ain't gonna worry about me accidentally discharging a little prematurely.
Oh, God, girl, what the hell? I'll talk to you later, and she hangs up before she says anything.
And while that call was happening, and Abe is still pounding the pavement, Reverend No.
Much easier to do from my office, but she'll dial up her the phone line to the coroner's office.
Would you be so kind as to roll either charisma or manipulation and contacts, unless of course they're an ally.
Alright. Hang on. Give me a second. For fuck's sake.
You broke the chain.
Yes. I've been there, done that. Thank you.
Anyone else mistreated?
There is a normal ebb and flow to things. There's a way that things are supposed to work. And when they work as they're supposed to work, even tragedies can be overlooked. Even great, huge, heaping bits of wrong can be accepted and even touted as something changed, something miraculous, something that is good for the city, as long as it works with the natural ebb and flow. These last 2 nights have not done anything similar to that. These last few nights, well, you dial the morgue. And instead of going to the voicemail, letting you know that everything's moving exactly as it's supposed to. Yeah, where is it? We got one driver out and the other one's on the way back. 3 of our guys are over in Westland right now. Where is it?
Oh dear. I was just attempting to see if we were expecting any extra deliveries after the disaster.
Oh wow. Reverend No. Oh no, I thought you were one of the other dispatch services. Everyone's stocked to the rafters. We're running a little bit behind. Yeah, we got 6 bodies for you. Your guys aren't able to get them all, so we've had to use a few other services. Hang on.
Perfectly okay.
You got you've got a couple of sorry about this. It's a couple of car crashes. You got 2 you got 2 bloated overdoses. You know, the ones that fall down in the river and get fished out. You got oh wow, you got a mother and a daughter on the way over there too. I'm sorry about that. Scotty is the driver out, bringing them out to you. He should have all the information. Did he get there already?
No, unfortunately, I'm not at my office right now, but I wanted to make sure that my people were going to be getting all the information they need. And if you need to take more to us, we're happy to do that.
Well, it's not about wanting to. I know that you guys were very nearly at capacity this last week, but everyone's just getting swamped. I tell you, that hotel fire last night is really kicking our ass. Combined with all of the, well, you won't believe this, but it looked like they were mauled by wild fucking animals over there at the lamplight. We're still trying to find out what happened there, and the feds have already collected the bodies. Said that their guys will do the testing and all of that, which is a help, with all of this influx of. Oh God! We've got a 4-body pile up coming up. Let me give you a call back if anything changes. And if we need more room, I'm definitely gonna get it.
No worries. Do what you can. And she'll hang up.
The current parish ME has been on the job since 1994. They have dealt with a wide swath of things that most medical examiners never have to deal with. All the bodies from the several dozen tropical storms and hurricanes that have swept through the area. All of the looting that happened afterwards. People using motorboats and speedboats and paddle boats to break into various institutions. The victims of that. He's never been flustered. He's never been more than calm and easygoing. Everything has a natural ebb and flow. He's currently overworked, as always, but at a heightened pace of activity that is clearly against the natural ebb and flow of things.
Well, the coroner's office is very stressed. And I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to look at any of those bodies. Apparently, the feds have already collected them. But they did say that some of them, from the lamplighter incident, looked like they had been shredded by animals.
I also found out that none of our local connections in the police department are going to be very much help, as they have all been busted down to less than patrol, almost traffic cops, as the feds have come in and taken over entirely, expecting that some sort of situation has happened, and they're even stating that some sort of epidemic or pandemic is coming, the bird flu, and some victim one or patient one they're looking for, some guy that came down from up north on a bike and might have infected people down here, and they're using that as a cover, I'm almost sure.
Did they give you an idea what this patient 0 would look like?
Big black guy on a bike, bald head, if I'm remembering correct.
That's not good.
Somebody you know?
Well, I don't know, but I don't know if you noticed, but what's the word that I'm looking for? I kind of fit the description.
This is very disconcerting. There's a lot of things going on. Perhaps these rumors of this new Inquisition, this seems to fit the MO.
So, Salem, here's a question. Do you think I should chance going out? Because if I do, and they're looking for me, that could be problematic.
We'll keep you out of sight. Unfortunately, I'm responsible for all of you, so if I'm going to go to a very public, kindred place without all of you, that's going to be problematic.
Just a very quick heads up to all of you. Near as I can tell, and I want to state that this is a problem with this newfound information, everything is going perfectly fine with the local criminals. If the feds are here, that should not be happening.
They're not looking for criminals, apparently.
I have a
told
strong
What are they looking for?
us, probably.
That night at
It's
the
a
bar.
screen.
Not specifically, mind you. Potentially, but
That night at the lamplighter, that place was crawling with hunter types. People who were seeking us.
That's true, too. There was an awful lot of cops at the lamplighter that night.
I have a strong suspicion our scourge is going to find no shortage of people to murder.
Well, luckily, it's not like you guys did anything egregious or left witnesses, so you should be fine, right?
Hesitant to bring it up, but it's common wisdom that the best way to cover the masquerade is to kill everyone involved.
That's true, but I don't really have much of a game plan right now because I can't leave the house if they're looking for me directly. And if I can't provide support if you guys need it. We're kind of boxed in.
How you know it's them looking for you specifically? I mean, this is New Orleans. A lot of people ride bikes. A lot of people are tall black dudes with bald heads.
Well, I cannot cut my hair, and since I haven't cut my hair yet, my hair is pretty, so I don't exactly look like a big, bald black guy. So maybe I can get away with it.
Do you have a hoodie?
I have
I
wigs.
do. My hair is full. I usually cut it before I leave. I haven't cut it yet, so I have a full head of hair, and I can wear a hoodie.
The hoodie will be good regardless of the hair to obscure your face, keep you off of any facial recognition that they might be running on traffic cams and whatnot.
See? Problem solved. We should probably get going.
I'm good with it.
Well, shall we get going?
Oh, crimes are wasting.
We'll finish your primping, and I guess away we go.
The funny thing about travel in New Orleans is that while most other urban areas outside of New Orleans understand that the U.S. is built upon the back of the car, locals know that within roughly about a little bit or a lot of bit of walk around the corner down the road, you can get them almost anywhere within the city itself. So moving from the 7th Ward down to the Silver Fox, which is the name that of the building that has taken over for Christians. Those who have been around for years still call the Silver Fox Christians, but they're very careful who they even bring it up around, because the illicit, the illegal, the very real occasional threat that it stands as isn't tolerated. Like, the wrong people hear you speaking about Christians, and it is very much a dog whistle for rebellion against Calabalarshi and the Grand Hostess. In fact, as far as the rumor mills and gossip were concerned, as little as a couple of weeks ago, before what happened, that the lamplighter happened, there was rumors that Morgaine had put out word and had individuals go down and bust Christians up to make an example out of the Silver Fox. Reportedly, some out-of-towners quickly moved along their way. There's no proof of it. No one actually saw it happen. But as far as anyone who's everyone is concerned, on the gossip mill, on the rumor mill, that's exactly what happened. Yet Christians somehow remains. Whatever happened, no matter how inaccurate it might be, word on the street is Morgaine put a stop to something that was happening at Christians. So the walk from the 7th Ward to the Silver Fox, i.e. Christians, is the short one as far as things are concerned. You could take the long way. You could go down, Miro and cut around Lafitte and take the scenic route. Make sure that, you are completely in the unaccostic opening by taking Orleans down and crossing underneath 39 right there at St. Anne's. Or you can take the shorter route, the more direct route. You all could cut across Esplanade down to 39 and in and around Louis Armstrong Park to avoid most of the easily tracked run through by taking St. Anne's down and through and as straight of a straight line as can be. Because most of New Orleans streets, they run northeast to southwest and northwest to southeast. They form X's, they form crossroads quite often and in most places. St. Anne's is a main thoroughfare that'll take you down to Burgundy and around the building so you can enter Christians from the correct side. Because Silver Fox, i.e. Christians, is one of the many open secrets of New Orleans. The front of the building that everyone believes is the main egress in is actually the back of the building. Its front sits on and off of the cul-de-sac between buildings. You have to use the pass-through between the Silver Fox and the apartment building standing next to it. Now, like all buildings in New Orleans, the apartment building that sits next to the Silver Fox is a 3-story slim thing. It stretches longer than it is wide, and the apartments upstairs are those that you'd imagine when you think of a cold water flat, but it has the charm and style of most things near enough to the French Quarter to be considered part of it. So the question is, the long scenic route, rough 45 minutes, or the quick, direct 20 minutes to walk there at a good clip and an unbreaking, hurried pace to get there as quickly as possible.
Does anyone have an opinion?
I vote quick, although, get off the street as fast as we can. Might be safer that way.
Yeah, you're probably right if they're looking for you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Salem will defer to Bo on this. This is his neighborhood. She assumes that he's walked it and knows where everything is.
Thing is, it's harder to hide a big group of people than it is to hide a small group of people. So maybe staggered groups so that we're not quite out of sight of each other and within shouting distance, but we don't look quite so conspicuous.
Go with that too.
Definitely prudent.
Okay then, quick as possible, but in staggered groups. Sounds like a plan.
So who is whom's bathroom buddies? And how are you all breaking yourselves down?
Case there.
Just a talker with a fighter.
I was going to suggest that in case there's trouble, we should split the two boys. They seem to be rather adept at the fisticuffs, as they said earlier.
Yeah, I'm alright with that.
I don't have any problem with it.
Though presumably Evergreen is with us too.
Yes. So consider having heard his usual asides and push towards definitive action no matter what it is.
So
Well,
it seems there's... Go ahead.
I can go with Evergreen, but I can be invisible with Evergreen so he will look like he is walking by himself. But mostly keep him out of trouble.
I was going to say the demographics work well. There's 3 boys and 3 girls. They split off as couples.
Well, whoever's pairing up with me, lead the way.
Salem, just to get things moving, she'll walk up and take Abe's arm.
Well, I guess that's us.
Well, whoever's going to be the best talker should probably pair with me just in case things get out of hand.
Salem will look at Harper, not knowing who's going to be the best talker.
Let's compare character sheets.
Right? Most of my talking is geared towards comforting the beloved of the dearly deceased.
I can make some deceased if it'll help.
Please don't.
Yeah, that's all I'd offer. Just, try to be helpful.
I'll roll my rouse for going invisible.
I think it'll be fine. I'll keep an eye on you. You did wonderful with the cops the other night.
Yeah, well,
It helped that I had performed a service for her not too long ago.
Shall we then?
Oh, that we shall. So things being as they are, Salem with Abe, Harper with Bo, Evergreen alone, and invisibly trailing behind is Mal. It is hard, even as a local, to not fall in love all over again every time you see the city, the actual quarter, as the central piece, as the gem in the crown that is New Orleans. There is more to the city than the quarter, but as far as everyone else is concerned, outside of NOLA, it is New Orleans. But for you locals, for you who have spent time and effort and energies getting to know the city, or trying to get to know the city, the beauty that is in the offing, just in the casual stroll, is to be undeniably potent. Even without the powers that be working their magic over the populace to help with the tourist trade, to help people get into the party spirit, even without any of the usual chicanery of the locals to defraud in every way they can to support themselves and their family and their crews, the city is one of pure bliss. It is designed to lure you into a sense of well-being. You all know damn well that the 7th Ward is fairly despicably violent. You all know that going too far through Treem, Lafitte, is asking for trouble more times than not. Yet, just in presence, it lulls and lures you into the sense that everything is going to be everything. Everything will work exactly as it's supposed to, and everything will be perfectly fine. Would you all be so kind, in your couples, one adding to the next, roll your wits plus awareness. Standard DC. One of you roll with a +1. In the case of Mal being alone, that's all on you.
I got a base of 5 for that, Abe. If you're better, you roll it.
You're better.
I'm a base of 4.
I got 2.
Make it happen.
I got 4.
Alright, so it doesn't matter, we're the same.
You can.
Do I still get the +1 or no?
Nope.
Is that an my secret? Oh no, I'm reading an old one.
There is a cost to doing business. There's a way that things are done. There is the natural outcropping of things. And Kindred, a stroll Not that anyone knows that you are specifically kindred, but couples a stroll at such close but distant proximity through trees, not being regularly known faces, as you all round the corner there to get on to Dumaine to cut down and across 39 underneath the viaduct there, right there at Roman. It happens. And what happens exactly? You all are spotted as potential victims with more money and time than common sense. There's nowhere that anyone will be walking counter to the traffic by themselves at this late hour of the evening, with the police being everywhere and anywhere but here. Right around the corner from Bourbon and Bailey's, where, well, drunkards are rolled and those who are sober enough pretend to be drunk to keep worse things from happening to them. And it starts like it always does in the wild. First, the spotter, trailing behind from a distance. And instead of the wolf calls and howls or the yips of hyenas or the silent creeping dread that precedes a lion's hunt, none of those telltale signs, none of those audible, easily discerned sounds of the wild. No, it's a text fired off several blocks ahead of you. Another fired off from the rooftop further along. Another from down the alleyway between the courtyards there at St. Anne's. And then, as you get to nearly the end of the block, right there before Roman, a convocation of people standing on the side, just there in that vacant lot, rolling dice and playing music and dancing. It's quiet. And just like before the storm, there's always its quietest. What looked from a distance like children out late, you realize are teenagers, young adults, whelps, too drunk on the idea of the forever of and immortality of youth to realize there are other monsters out there in the night. And you all almost laugh as the flash of night catches the streetlight. Hey there now, come see, come see. Come on, come see there. And the cheers, like a pack of hungry predators. Yeah now, come see, oh. And it's clear that they are not just locals, but they're local toughs. They believe that the blades in their hands are enough to persuade, and they usually are. The numbers are on their side. There's easily 2 apiece for each of you. And the leader is a tall, bushy-haired youth that probably had a career in a A-League school. Probably played a combined basketball and football. He's on the thinner side, but it's clear that he has muscles and a physique. Probably far more stamina than he has common sense. So running isn't specifically an option. They take you down like a pack of wolves if you all were mortal. But in this evening, the police being places elsewise, and you all being just at the edge of the dark, with the rear closing in behind you, the questions are, what are you going to do about it? And will you do anything about it? And with that thought hanging over the coterie, it is 18 after the hour. Let's meet back here at 28 after. And just like MacArthur's promise, we're back. Is everyone
present? I'm here.
Well, that's a good thing. Especially being
here.
That's also a good thing. As the 2 well, two of the four that are the closest to this would-be crime lord, this burgeoning threat to the domestic tranquility of Treem. Your decisions are penultimate. You two are the two lead couples, and you know that Mallory's at the back. And while no one's bothered to really look back over time, there's no reason to do so. She's not quite as invisible as she believes, nor as aware.
So, Salem will say something in some frightening sounding dead language, because that's what she studied in college. And will wave some sort of made up sigil in the air with her pentagram necklace as she casts some chicken bones in between herself and the people who are threatening them. Because superstition and voodoo and witchcraft are very, very ingrained in the New Orleans culture.
Oh, yeah. Bad juju and not having your gree bag is definitely a good time to vacate the premises. Normally.
And to make it worse, Salem looks every bit a witch.
At the same time, Abe was gonna activate Dawn's.
And so does Bo.
And I was attempting to intimidate, so let's see how all that works.
Indeed. And Reverend Noel, these forlorn, forgotten, misspent youths, is there anything that Reverend Noel might be doing as all of this is taking place? And Mal?
Does she see who snuck up on her? Obviously, because she's realizing she's more seen than she wanted to be.
Oh yeah, this is what is known as a group mugging, and potentially a group homicide. The intent is very clear, to divest you all of whatever wealth you might have. Sadly for most of you all, the only wealth you have present is your seeming to be alive. This is a make or break moment for these particular crew of individuals.
How many are behind me?
In the dark, too many to count. You know that you are roughly outnumbered 2-1.
Well, then I'm gonna pick the one that seems the most close in a threat and compel.
Roll that lovely beam footage and tell me what it is that you're attempting to do. What is it that you are telling him, or then her, him, then what are you telling the children who are attempting to enter into a career in crime to do?
Simple. Run away. And if they are non-human, then I have to roll. But if they are human and I'm suspecting, it's an automatic.
And Salem, your manipulation plus intimidation roll. And Reverend Abe and Bo, your charisma plus presence. And seeing as you all are roughly working in concert with one another, please add a +1.
For everyone.
Yes.
The other question I have is I do have a dot of fame in the occult scene. Would that add into that?
Yes.
Just roll as high as we can.
Yep.
I will proceed to roll in the other server. Did they change how that bot works or something?
I don't remember any reading anything about the change log, but it seems to be having an issue tonight, and I'm not entirely sure why.
What is the command to roll to get hunger in there as well?
The beast is offline. That's the problem.
Well, no, I decided to switch to the other one to dice roll, but I don't know how to add the hunger dice.
Press tab, and it'll give you a pop-up and ask, and hunger should be one of the choices.
Yep, hunger and DC if you want to add it, but you don't have to add it.
Got it. Thanks, Salem.
It was,
Looking now. Look at that.
3 successes.
Yep, I see it. We'll see you there. Alright. So, in the grand scheme of things, there are those who bring guns to knife fights, those who bring knives to gunfights, and there are those who show up ill prepared to do more than simply die for their beliefs. In the exchange of animosity between this crew who are making their first forays into the world of violent crime, seizing the opportunity to gain temporary riches that could change some of their lives, in balance with how much the act of hunting other living things changes you. That decision made, that group think weighing on them as a way for a quick come up, has already changed them in ways that they will spend years trying to come to grips with. As the bones fly from Salem's hand, blending almost perfectly between the lead and his cohort, his second in command, his brother from another mother who happens to be a sister. The look on their face and their grit and determination would be admirable if they were charging across the battlefield, if they were fighting for their country, for their family, or for their belief in an unseen higher power. And this moment is frustrating and annoying that these children, young adults though they are, they're still children in comparison to each and every last one of you, are willing to throw away their futures for temporary gain. They're willing to cross that Rubicon and become something darker. That is until from the rear, the scream erupts. A blood-curdling thing of, no! And the woman who caught Mallory's eye, who was grinning like a hyena preparing to divest her of everything, goes running. The jagged, rusty chef's knife clattering to the ground. Her nearest associate still holding the well-used and bent and buckled box cutter taking off behind her, and like a fire catching extraordinarily dry tinder, the overwhelming press of Bo and Reverend Abe's aura, along with the sheer weight of some recognizing who Salem might be. One of the witches! The hustle of feet and scattering of bodies could be seen from a helicopter passing overhead. It looks like school let out after one of the average usual shootings. Everyone running for their cars, running for their parents, running for the police. It's just a swarm of children, young adults, fleeing into the night. Many screaming, some yelling, some threatening they'll be back. And you all are alone once more in the dark, realizing how very close not only potential harm to your corpses are, but how very close you all were to having to choose how much of the masquerade you were going to throw away.
You see the stance on that boy. Sloppy.
It was. He definitely could have used a few years of training.
I'll be coming back with more. We should get moving.
I welcome them to try. I agree. Let's go.
There are two things that your internal questioning and questioning of the situation brings easily to your knowledge, right? There's no way, as little as yesterday, that a crew that size would have tried anything this bold. And from their pace and quickly disappearance into buildings, around cars, around the next corner and out of sight, you know that they are in fact local. This is One Thumb's neighborhood. They call him One Thumb because that's how he managed to overcome the previous crew leader for this area. He literally separated the man's thumb with his teeth. He didn't pull the trigger. It wasn't a gang situation where there were multiple combatants. It was close, personal, and bloody enough that his legend did most of the work for him. Biting off a man's thumb at the bar in front of his wife and in front of his security is not something that's easily done. It takes a certain determination and a certain willingness to do harm. Yet you had a crew of about 16 to 20 young adults just freshly coming of age, willing to engage in a relatively open manner.
Either one thumb's getting sloppy or that was a test of some kind.
I worry more about while all the cops are gone, I can see in the corridor if the feds have taken over the situation, but we're not in the corridor.
Nope. You are exactly just north of Louis Armstrong. You are at the back of you're almost at the back of the municipal auditorium there, just off of St. Anne's. Problem being is, while New York has Central Park and Chicago has Washington Park and San Jose has El Centro, New Orleans has Louis Armstrong Park, and while it's a great place for tourists, as long as you stay close enough to Rampart to be visible and seen, in the dark, if you get the other side of either one of the ponds, all sorts of things happen, especially just out of sight of the Mahalia Jackson Theater there, just near Dumaine. And you all are heading through the park, past the municipal auditorium, crossing Rampart and down and around to Christians, or as it's called now, the Silverfish. The next few portions of your trek are fraught. You all are looking into every shadow, under every bush, keeping an eye on the rooftops and those tourists foolish enough to get away from the well-lit portions of Rampart, those who are foolish enough to get away from the well-lit portions of Louis Armstrong. And the one thing that stands out most apparently, the inmates are running the prison. The lunatics are running the asylum. And the prime alpha rule of the quarter and the environs near it. In fact, it's a city-known unspoken rule, even amongst most of the mortals. You do not fuck with the tourist trade. You do not risk bringing down the heavy might of the relatively long and strong arm of the law based off of anything that happens untoward to the tourist. Yet here they are. Yet here is every ne'er-do-well, aspiring criminal, bootleg mastermind of less than legal options, plying their trade.
Where did your police officer friend say they were?
Off the top of my head, do I remember?
No, but if they weren't in the quarter, if they weren't near the quarter, which means they weren't south of Rampart, they're more than likely on the western end of Iberville, which is a little more local quarter. It's where the small little juke joints and hole-in-the-wall food places operate mostly illegally. Everybody turns a blind eye. But if they're not there in Iberville, then you know, based on drunkenness of his voice, it's probably somewhere out there near Poydras, just south of the Granger there, off of Galvez or somewhere over in that area, not far from the hospital. Being creatures of habit and all.
She was at some sort of drink cart talking about beignets over somewhere near Abbeville. Not over near here, though.
Were they supposed to be over near here?
Yeah, normally hubby has a lot to deal with the girls of the night and said since they are not working right now.
They're not working?
No, the CDC shut them down. Remember I told you that whole bird flu thing? She does quotation marks when she says bird flu.
That's bad. They're clamping down on feeding. It's only a matter of time with the police doing nothing and the crime spree and the lessened supply of food before somebody transitory fucks up bad. Someone who don't know any better.
And then the National Guard get called in and we get overrun with feds, even more so than we are now. And then amongst that, you bet you hunters will be in that mix. Open season, yeah.
City's going to hell. Hunters are already here.
Could not be them, could be somebody from outside squeezing the quarter to make a play. Could be a lot of things. That's why I wanted to hear what was being whispered.
Unlike thirsty folks, having survived the desert, you arrive at the northern edge of the quarter. You're just south of Rampart. You can see daylight, as it were. The Silverfish is literally there, right at Burgundy and St. Anne, moving through the pass-through towards the back of the building, towards the actual front of the building. Your heart sinks a little. The alley, the pass-through, there's a line. Well, there's only 4 or 5 people, and that's stretching the definition of what people actually are. Even here, there's an abeyance to the masquerade. And while the city is hospitable to tourists, there are certain things that you don't do. One of them is when you're waiting in line to get into a secret, elusive, kindred establishment that is a Nosferatu, you don't unmask yourself. Yet, there you see a 6'7" tall skeletal version of a kindred. If they are not in fact Nosferatu, it makes it all the worse, because it means that what they are presenting to the world, the sallow sunken cheeks, the horrendous overbite, making it seem as if their mother or their father may have been a saber-toothed tiger, their ears pinned back against their head, their eyes, one a deep blood-tinged red and the other a yellowish sickly green, the tufts of hair sticking from the center of their nose, and where there should be eyebrows, there are these scaly, almost dragon-like protrusions. And she's standing there in a Dior, strapless gown that would be considered quite formal, save with her height, it barely reaches her knees. It's a little too tight, it's a little too exposed, and it somehow makes it all the worse because the skin on her shoulders are absolutely flawless. A little bit of moonlight reaching this far back and into the shadow makes them stand out almost as if they are glowing in comparison to the bruised look of most of her other skin.
This is also not good.
She smiles as you guys come closer. Oh, hi! I'm so glad, I'm so happy I'm not the only one here. These others. She motions to those who are just ahead of her in line. They say that there's going to be a huge fight. They say that, I don't know, I'm sorry, I'm talking your head off. Hi, I'm Amelia from St. Louis. I survived the trip. I'm sorry. It's your turn to talk. Hi, I'm Amelia.
Hi, Amelia. Not to be rude, but you do realize your slip is showing.
Oh, no, that's the style. Look. And then she twirls. It even has pockets, but they're not where pockets are on the side of most jeans. They're in the back. So she places her hands and she affects pose, lowering her chin against her chest and what approximates as a smirk. See?
Salem will sigh and roll her eyes a little bit. It was a metaphor, darling.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm sorry.
You're unmasked was my point.
Oh, yeah, this is one of our places. We don't have to do that, right?
You're on the street.
But back here is the street. It's. You guys don't have alleys, so how was I supposed to know? Like, this is out. And she's looking at the top of the buildings, looking around for video cameras or anybody else. Oh, like, and holds her hand over her mouth. Oh my god! And she turn around.
I just keep looking.
Please, I didn't mean it. Just turn around, please, turn around.
I merely told you as a courtesy. Go ahead.
Harper will just put her hand over her eyes.
Avery, don't be rude. The girl said turn around. That's not gentlemanly at all. And she helps him cover his eyes while facing away.
Damn, I hope this is funny.
And Bo.
Bo just kind of raises an eyebrow at the rest of the group. Back at her. Back as the rest of the group. Are we seriously doing this? I mean, like, seriously doing this? Are we? I'm not sure.
Salem will turn far enough away and she'll help by opening her coat to block the view.
So, Reverend Abe has had his eyes obfuscated by Mal. Harper covers her eyes and Salem turns away and flashes those behind her, i.e. the coterie, to obfuscate and block the more than models hall. Amelia. Does Bo look away?
Bo has a morbid curiosity as to whether the rest of her skin is flawless or if it's as marred as the top portion. You know, wondering if the carpet matches the drapes.
So he stares. And keeps like,
No, he just doesn't turn. He just kind of looks at her, wondering if everyone else is turning, why. But no, he doesn't turn away.
You see her visibly attempt to calm down. And then she smiles. All right, you guys can look, she whispers, her voice caring. And as you all look back, she is still, in fact, 100% visible. I'm so sorry. I would have made sure that I wasn't seen if I had known that this still counts as being on the street. This is better, isn't it?
I can't tell the difference.
Yep, can't see you at all. Eyes are still covered.
Mal, seeing that she can still see the girl, takes her hands away from Abe's and looks at Bo real pointedly like, you asshole.
Oh my god, you guys can still... Oh my god! And she throws her hands over her eyes, though it is, in fact, more than a few seconds too late. The waterworks come, the vitae-tinged tears staining her cheek and dripping onto her dress. And you're not sure how, but there's clearly more intestinal fortitude to her than her outpouring of emotions might seem. Because she doesn't lose control of the beast. She doesn't snarl or show fang. In fact, she shows outright and abject dejection, realizing that she is standing unmasked when she shouldn't be. Her very existence in more places than not has been and would be a breach of all manner of traditions, namely the masquerade. It's hard to see her unblushed and think that there's anything remotely actually living about her. And in this moment, with her hopes dashed upon the rocks, she takes off running. Her long legs eating up the cobblestoned foundation of the alley, her dress flaring and swirling around her. She rushes past you all, south, down the pass-through, attempting to find a place to turn left or right. If she turns left, she'll end up out on St. Anne's. If she turns right, she'll find herself in the back maze of buildings there between St. Anne's and Orleans. But none of that is of any concern, because it is clear that in the grand scheme of things, breaking a heart is better than breaking a face. And the line is one kindred shorter.
Hey, look, it worked this time. She disappeared.
Yeah. Well, hopefully she doesn't get mugged.
Mal is giving Bo the side eye of his fucking life.
Winning friends and influencing people, at least we're one person closer to getting in.
While Kindred have the rest of forever stretching out before the promise of immortality, there's something enervating about having to wait in line. There's the one commonality between the dead and the living. And while the line moves relatively quick, it is slow enough that behind you, filling in the spaces, are other kindred arriving. You can tell from their dress that this is a night out. You don't see nearly as many locals as you would have suspected. The party is just getting going, after all. We're just a little bit past 10 in the evening, so it is in the start of it being in full bloom. And most locals know that right around now is when things are getting hot and heated. The first couple of matches, the starter fights that you can look down on or take part in, are moving through the preliminary rounds. The amateurs, the lightweights, those who don't really have much skill or experience in, well, beating upon kindred. Because there's an art to it. It's not just sheer ferocity that wins the day. There's understanding that the normal damaging attacks that would lay a kind low don't necessarily work because, well, yeah, a joint lock is great to keep someone from hurting you, but short of tearing the arm off or ruining it, snapping it in several places, every kindred worth their salt can push through the pain of a joint lock. Every kindred worth their salt can take massive amounts of trauma. Usually. So as you all get in, and the place is strangely enough jumping with, instead of it being the usual 10 to 20% of new faces, people that haven't even come into the city for a while, or people that live out there in the back of beyond, out there in the bayou or what have you, who occasionally frequent, it's roughly 40% new faces. And while the capacity for the building is right at 97, you are sure that you all are over capacity. You see 4 and 5 kindreds sharing a cold one together at one of the booths as you make it past a doorman who doesn't bother to check you for weapons because, a gun is nothing more than a punch to the average kindred, but instead just offers off. You all know the rules. No disciplines inside. Keep everything nice, neat, and up front. Come on in.
I dropped down.
See, there's a little something for everyone here. If you need to work out any pent-up aggression from the last few days, she inclines her head towards the, I guess it's a fighting pit, for lack of a better word.
It is. The floor is literally ground bones. The fed upon and discarded remains of those who don't survive the night as donors end up padding the floor with their remains. Impossible for a forensic team to actually figure out who was who and what was what, as they're ground into all but nothing more than chalk beneath the kindreds who are fighting in the pit's feet. It's still an example as to how far from humane and how far from human the kindred can be. The one question that matters is, as you all are being given the once over and looked at by the bouncer, the clear head of the security team here, does everyone drop the use of their disciplines?
Well, Mal kind of doesn't have to. She's already been discovered, so that automatically knocks that down and off.
Yeah, I wasn't using any.
Harper was not using any either.
I went ahead and dropped it.
Yeah, I drop it.
There are many places that you've all seen through various other fantasies and movies and books. This is effectively Macau during a James Bond film. There are kindred from all strata of statuses in the crowd locally. You have the upper echelon, those who are operating just beneath the primogen level. You have those who are operating as free roving rogues from the extreme edges of kindred society. You have those who are avowed secret anarchs who are tolerated so long as they don't get too far out of line. You have capos and associates of the criminal of the Sombre who pretty much run the entirety of the eastern side of the city. You have members of the sensates, the Toreadors, sitting in their booths and looking down on the fighting pit. and you have those from the family who are running the gambling. And everyone's working or operating at their level of the ecosystem. At least on the surface. You know, there's a few notable members of the rabble. Those avowed would-be anarchs sitting at tables with blue bloods or magisters. You know, there's more than a few Nosferatu who, for the most part, are sweet. They trade their information, they do their deals with everyone, but there's a sense of fraternal obligation between them. They're gathered around and trading small glasses of tea or blood or whatever it is that they're drinking back and forth, taking sips from flasks. And there's a solidarity easily apparent, as if they're representing their stakes. Which is odd. The Nosferatu of New Orleans fuck with everybody and move between groups and help where they can and take what they can and trade what they can with everyone. Them being standoffish is nearly as startling as clearly known anarchs socializing with clearly known up-and-comers of the tower.
Question. Mm-hmm. These Nosferatu, are they cloaked? Are they like using any of their disciplines, or are they just all out there free?
They are letting it all hang out. Once you enter in, disciplines are frowned upon. This is as close to an Elysium as you can be without any of the pomp and circumstance and the demand of good behavior that you would have in an actual official capacity. This is a freebooter's paradise normally. But this is dialed up to 10.
Oh, looks like the rest of the group. See, now y'all told her she had to go change. Don't y'all feel bad about that?
She only needed a change.
If it wouldn't get me in trouble, I'd kick you in the shins right now.
She'd have been fine in here. It was on the street that was the problem.
Well, perhaps we should go and alert one of them to let them know that one of their daughters are out fleeing, letting her flag fly. Maybe we should probably let one of them know.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Couldn't hurt.
Salem will wave her. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say Salem would wave her arm towards the Nosferatu and say, "Be my guest. Everyone mingle."
Well, that's what Bo's going to do.
One small aside, and let me ask this question very specifically. After driving an out-of-town tourist who is a violation of the masquerade screaming into the night, you're going to send someone to go look for them, so that if they are calm, who had been able to talk them down off of whatever moment that they were experiencing, they'd be able to describe whom was the catalyst. Just want to make sure that that's your decision.
Yeah, Bo's already enough trouble as is.
Yeah, Bo has created enough chaos.
What's one more masquerade breach on Bo's head?
Yeah, never mind.
You can't hear it, but I'm over here rolling my eyes.
Just thought I'd be helpful, that's all. Never mind.
Everyone entertain themselves, mingle, don't talk about the lamplighter. It's best if you don't admit you were there.
He's just gonna raise his eyebrow.
We want to get a little without giving anything.
For a handsome-looking woman, you sound awfully like the typical male, says a blonde who's walking by with a martini made out of someone's eyeball and life juice, as she noisily slurps at her glass and continues moving into the crowd.
Well, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Paris.
Okay, so I guess we carefully split up. But stay close enough to see each other. So in case anybody gets in trouble.
Stay in visual range.
Keep your head on a swivel. This is aching for another lamplighter situation.
So, to give a brief little overview as to where you all are, you are in the entranceway to the wide happenings. You're able to see up the stairs to your left as it goes up and around. Each level is adding like a stairway around the central, what would have been a dance floor elsewhere, and is a dance floor when it's not being controlled solely by Kindred. The floor closes over the fight pit below. There are stairs that are accessible if you go towards the center of the building that can lead down into the fighting area. Over the fighting area that keep things from flying up, like heads, arms, and what have you, there is a chain link mesh that keeps the fighters below and the viewers above. The fight pit itself is lined with panels of corrugated steel bolted into place and riveted. The floor is, well, the bones and ground up powder of donors who didn't survive the night. And it goes back several decades. So portions of the floor are in fact hard packed, but they're hard packed from combat. People falling against it, or more specifically, Kindred falling against or being thrown against it. Occasionally, there are still puffs of chalky bits of former living entities that drift up in the middle of the fight. The walls are stained with vitae, dark enough and old enough to look very much like rust, despite the scent, the slight melon sweetness that would happen if you were to happen to have your nose pounded into it. And on each level around the center fight pit are various echelon of Kindred. You have the movers and shakers that are 100% part of the tower and doing everything they can to carve out a piece of something for themselves. Closer to the door where you all are, as the pathway leads up and around till you reach the top where the higher echelon members of the tower are gathering, looking down on all of the other steps and raised portions and doing business openly. There are, again, the movers and the shakers, those who are seeking and clawing their way towards that level. The one thing that sticks out most glaringly, this is not a normal night. You all, in one point or another, have managed to find yourself at Christians, whether it's for the cheap entertainment of being in places where you know you shouldn't, or you were meeting someone who operates in this realm, or you were trading information, or it was just a rough night. And while the lamplighter is a source for nice, easy feeding, this is a place where if push came to shove, you can blow off a little steam and there wouldn't be too much that would fall on your shoulders afterwards. And while there are matches currently going, 2 against 3, their third leaning against the wall their neck at an odd angle as they massage their shoulder back into its socket. The Nosferatu showing solidarity instead of being the social butterflies that they have to be to survive. The avowed anarchs associating and mingling, rubbing elbows with the avowed diehard Towerites. You are in Mos Eisley. This is not just criminally aimed, but somehow criminally wrong. The bruise of the typical society that you have been part of and party to for the last few decades of your existence seem to have been thrown into the air willy-nilly like beads during Mardi Gras. So where does everyone head? Highest, middle, low, or the fight pit?
Salem will look for people that she knows or at least is familiar with, preferably ones that seem to be rather connected and in the know more often than not.
Harper will find someplace where she can sit and watch.
The fight, the crowd, or both? You never know. Watch the fight, the crowd, or both?
She is probably mostly going to watch the crowd.
Mal is going to head high. She is not much of a fighter or watcher of fights, so away from that.
Abe is going to, unless someone stops him, go down and join the fights and vent some frustration, particularly over the loss of his favorite jacket.
I'll head into the fight pit just because he's going to go to the fight pit.
The siren call of violence is hard to turn down. It's hard to ignore. You all are not the only one lining up to get into the fight pit. The 3-on-3, well, now 2-on-3, slowly moving into a 2-on-2, is reaching a favorite pitch. You can hear or see from your angles back out onto the actual floor, bets being maintained and money's changing hands, but it's not money. They're using chits to account for boons. They're actually keeping physical track of things. That's the funny part about it all. You all, having existed in New Orleans, know that it is the numbers man's job to keep everything in his head so there's no trace nor track of it. And normally that's the case here at Christians, but they're doing such business that they're having to actually physically keep track.
Paul looks over at Abe. That seem odd to you?
Everything about the Christian tonight feels odd. Everything everywhere feels odd.
Yeah.
Well, numbnuts, take your odd ass upstairs. This is for fighters. Get your ass out of here. Y'all talking too goddamn much. Just pay attention. I'll get you in there and I'll kick your ass myself if it keeps up.
You get your damn mouth out of my face right now, or you're gonna lose your nose.
The fuck you say to me? And he takes a step closer. You all, being who you all are and what you've all recently dealt with, are more security conscious than most. He's more intent on proving who's the top dog, and as such is not paying attention to the closing security officers, the kindred who are here to put down anything and everyone that detracts from the entertainment of the fight. And as they close
I just
in,
look out in my head to see how long it takes for them to get here.
Next fight, you and me.
and as they close in, their hands falling on his shoulders, like the sword of Damocles finally free of its thin wire holding it aloft. It is clear that they have done this far too often. He frowns and looks over his left shoulder like, what the? And as he's preparing to launch an affirmative verbal defense, they simply pull, each of them in a different direction. And while that's happening, settling down to watch the crowd, to watch the fight, and take in the ambiance of the moment, Harper, this is a place where it would be easy enough to well up some milk of human kindness. It is clear that these beings have been unloved by everything and everyone, including themselves. You hear grousing about, if Calabalarshi was here, this shit wouldn't have been happening. And you hear, oh my god, but Calabalarshi was so loud. Why couldn't we have a quiet prince like Gibo? My friend is... And the talk in where you're sitting is literally measuring the two against each other without any mention of the Grand Hostess. The Grand Hostess who has been around just as long, if not longer, than Gibo. The Grand Hostess who managed to pull the fat out of the fire once Calabalarshi went on whatever it was that he went on. And that's disconcerting. People talk about things like the lamplighter. It should be on everyone's tongue, but instead, it's as if they're debating to see who they're going to cast their vote for between Calabalarshi and Gibo. One of them taps your knee. Hey, can I get you a drink?
Yes, that would be lovely. Thank you.
Oh, sure thing. I'll put it on my tab. Do you have preference? Masculine, feminine, high joy, low joy?
Surprise me.
Oh, sounds like a plan. Then he snaps his fingers. And there's one of the staff members. Mr. Richelieu, what can we do you for? Me and my party and this lovely new thing here would like some of your finest... I'm feeling like love. Do you have something that was love or felt? Not the blush of young love, but something lasting. I understood that you guys had an octogenarian back there? Oh, we do. He was a former parish priest. He only joined the seminary upon the death of his wife, and he served with distinction for, and she actually takes out a notepad and starts flipping through the pages. Oh yeah, he served the parish for 45 years. His wife was buried, so he didn't have any kids. He ran one of the, at that time, orphanages, and oh, you're gonna like this one. He's on blood thinners. Oh, that sounds lovely. I'll take 6 of those, please. But of course, Mr. Richelieu, of course. And off they go. What is Reverend Knowles' humanity?
It is... 7.
Oh. So average. So higher of the average. Because in that description, in that exchange, you literally listened with the order. They're going to drain that donor dry. 6 draughts of blood from one single donor assures, at the very bare minimum, their heart stopping. Maybe permanently, but at least temporarily stopping. The blood depletion would cause a temporary asphyxiation. There won't be enough blood pressure to move whatever blood is left through their body.
He might not be quite so happy about that, but she literally eats the dead, so...
Yes, the dead, the already deceased, those who have gone on their way. You've helped most of your appetizers and entrees over the last few years and last few months. Their families grieve, making it a little more sustainable. It's a little more green the way that you go about it. Because yes, you're defiling the dead, and yes, you're taking it solely because you need it, and they're already dead. They've already lived their lives. It's far kinder after all, isn't it?
On the other hand, sometimes grief just tastes delicious.
And the realization as to what they're doing doesn't fall on deaf ears. You are 100% understanding that if at this pace, there are going to be several blood-drunk kindred moving out into the night after this. There are going to be a minimum of several bodies that need to be disposed after this. Just if this level of drunken drinking down the living is happening at one, let alone more tables this evening, covering that up and making that disappear is no small feat. They're drinking as if tomorrow doesn't matter, as if they have an understanding that there won't be any consequences to their actions. And speaking of consequence to their actions, sorry, the cord came out of my headset. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Sorry about that, folks. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Ended up knocking the cord out of my headset. Do apologize about that. But speaking of damning the consequences and not really thinking that tomorrow will ever happen, the city is rife with crime. Always has been. But there's a way you do things. You don't hang your dirty laundry where the neighbors can see. You don't go pulling skeletons out of your closet for the world to be made aware of. And one of those things is that occasionally, every once in a while, there are kindred who are asked politely and viciously to leave not just the quarter, but the city. Some of them are banned, some of them are permanently banned, some of them are just asked to leave for the weekend. Okay, no muss, no fuss. You clearly have had too much fun. Go away for a year, go away for a month, go away for a decade. Those people are usually, as long as they're not permanently banned, allowed back. Salem caught a Tremere from somewhere out east, near North Carolina, South Carolina, somewhere over that way, stealing from her shop. They may recompense later, but the idea that they would come down and do so was aggravating. You all don't play that. That's one of the many things you don't do. Luckily for them, they were a childer of some regent and a veritable wonderkind, and so it was lobbied to provide them leniency. This was exactly 2 weeks ago to the day. Seeing the biracial Japanese wunderkind from out east standing along the railing looking down into the fight pit, while Joseph, the cat burglar, who steals blood for a living to provide cheap sustenance for others who can't afford it, is a smack to the face. Partially because you've been very kind to Joseph, and the fact that he would be there enjoying time with a known thief of magical artifacts is a smack to the face, Salem. How dare he? But if anyone knows what's going on, it would definitely be Joseph.
Are we waiting on me?
Yeah, Joseph is there with the item thief that you kicked out of town, or helped to be kicked out of town, that wasn't supposed to come back for at least a decade. Yet here he is with Joseph, and they're looking down on the fighting pit.
She will sidle up to them holding whatever wine glass she has as a prop, more or less.
His eyes brighten as you draw near. "Oh my God, Fraulein, how are you?" says Joseph, while the wunderkind from out east takes a step back, unsure as to whether you're going to throw whatever it is in that glass into his face.
It has been a minute, hasn't it?
It has! It is so good to see you here. I did not expect you to be here at this night.
Seems it's hard for most to stay away.
It is, but unlike you, most of... And he stops, and it's the item thief taps him on his forearm. Not quite a full-fledged throwing your hands over someone's mouth, but it's close enough to count. Well, you know, it's a day where I expect your shop to be very busy. It's good that you're here all the same. Have you thought about who should be replacing the Calabalarshi or Gibo?
Someone's replacing Kibo.
Perhaps not. You know, these things, they're always blown out of proportion. But, and he steps closer, ignoring the wunderkind from out east. It is hard to believe in the power of a prince that would allow such things to happen. Morgaine, bless her soul, was such a kind woman.
Certainly is a mess. I'm sure my shop is doing well enough, safer without me there. It's not safe in the quarter right now.
No, but it is. It is. Did you hear? Travers is on his way to claim temporary praxis, and of course, being Gibo's right-hand man, he will most assuredly adhere to Gibo's methodologies, burning hotels and killing stupid kindred, unless of course something is done about that.
If the man is deserving of his reputation, it may be less safe in the quarter.
There is that. It's not as if there is and he looks around, a Congress being held to decide whether we unaligned and forced to serve kindred will act together to ensure that we have a domestic tranquility worth maintaining. But I'll leave you two to it. I understand that they have a lovely wedding plan on. You know I have a sweet tooth. I'll talk to you later.
Of course. She'll nod to him and then to the other guy as well.
The ideas floating through the crowd as you make your way to the top of the gathering, Mallory, is amazing. The voices that you are hearing are not your own, but they're not from outside of you. In this moment, it would be impossible to say that you're not connecting or touching into, dialing into something far more electric, something far more giving, something far more open and easily accessible. It's like dialing into the internet with no dial-up. You don't hear that screeching in your ear, but you're able to surf the net. And plus you have the Netscape CD, so you're able to dial on for free. And you hear voices. Calaplashi. Gibo! Travers! Gibo! Calaplashi.
And are they happening at specific groups of people, or is it just at a random?
It's in your head. It is not through your ears. It is as if you're dialing into a network unwittingly.
I got that part, but is it, I mean, like, as she's walking past certain groups, is it, like, getting louder in her head?
No, the volume in your head, just like the never-ending scream, is at whatever volume you think it should be. And the moment the idea that you can scream forever in your head pops through your head, you hear someone begin screaming non-stop. Hero! It takes you a few paces near the top where the sub-Primogen level kindred are actually gathering and sitting and sipping and talking and whispering. But you realize that there's one amongst them that is not whispering. He's looking down on the fighting pit as if he's cheering someone on. He keeps yelling and screaming, Gibo!
Eyes automatically go towards him. Now, she's good at telling whether things are in her head or out of her head, so with his yelling, is he yelling indeed outside of her head, or is he yelling in her head?
Oh. Both.
She kind of like pauses for a minute and like does that thing where your ears are itching, so she kind of like makes it stop and then looks at him. Does she recognize who he might be?
That's the part that sucks most. You know that he's not from these parts. Not only is he not from these parts, you know he believes he should never be in these parts after what he did when he outed Christian all those years ago. Yet he's here and leaking all over the place. His thoughts, while he keeps screaming Gibo, they're interspersed periodically in your head with yum 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 Gibo!
She moves across the floor very carefully, walking directly up to him and putting her hand very delicately in front of his mouth and pressing.
Kilo!
Chad, you too damn loud. In all sorts of ways, calling so much attention to yourself.
Only with attention can you disappear. I used to know the owner. They tasted good. They had great taste, as you can see. Look, this is what this utopia could be. Kibo! Yum 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 yum.
Problem is, the more attention you call to yourself, the more people gonna realize you're here. And there are people that do remember who you are and might not want you here. So, I recommend you lower your volume just a little bit.
Keep up. What do you mean people recognize me? This is my first time here in 30 years.
No. I know who you are.
You know who I
She
am.
points to the top of her head. Yeah. So if I know, others know.
Jessica said that wasn't going to ever happen. I'm down in the fighting pit. You all are up next. It is a once an evening brawl for it all to determine who moves on to the semifinals of our evening. Who will be the new warlord of the coming Anarch army? And you realize that the fights have higher stakes than just who lives and who goes home with aggravated damage. It really is as martially inclined as you all had thought from upstairs. There are several layers and levels of things happening all at once. And as the idea of backing out begins to settle in, the line, the entirety of those 5 in front of you, those 6 behind you, and those last 2 stragglers that are rushing down, taking off their shirt like this is some backyard street brawl, are all pushed into the fighting pit, and the door is closed.
So I guess we'll get to see who's the better killer tonight there, Abe?
Is it me against him?
It is a brawl, it is a free-for-all, it is a single point elimination to move on to the semifinals. It is clear that whoever survives the fighting pit, the final kindred that stands above them all, will in fact be the Anarch Warlord. You'll be inducted. You'll be the leader of the martial forces of the Anarch movement that seems to be, well, and as that thought sits there, as you all realize, this is not what it once was. Christians, instead of being the figurehead for dissent, has become the epicenter for rebellion against Travers, Kibo, and Calabalartian. The chanting above your head that keeps yelling down Gibo, you realize is not to support Gibo, but instead to kill Gibo, to replace him, to end him. The decisions being made, the questions being asked are not for who you will be loyal to, but who will be taken out to make room for the Baron of New Orleans. And there's an old sentiment, speak of the devil and they shall appear. As everyone's murmuring and whispering and signing up and lining up, Salem realizes that their thief, their idiot savant from out east, may not be as big an idiot as they have pretended to be. And one conversation, one aside leads to the next, and you realize that the voices and the whispers of those talking around you are all hedging their bets towards or about him in the most indirect manner possible. Change is the one constant in the universe, and is the one thing that every human despises. And you all are in the middle of change of a very fundamental basis. And on that note, thank you all for a lovely episode, and see you all next week.
Night all.
Dun dun dun.